Hey everyone, Ricardo here for the Fate Reforged spoiler review. Fate Reforged has been completely revealed, so today I'll be doing an overview of a few things. I'll do the most underrated card and the most overrated card. I'll cover which card I think is most impactful for Standard and for Modern. I'll cover which card I think will be great in EDH and Tiny Leaders. It's going to be quite a bit to cover, so let's get started. The most under-the-radar card I have seen from this set is easily Reality Shift. Control decks now have an answer for the big things. It's pretty huge. You can answer some scary threats pretty easily with this card. Your opponents will have a 2/2 manifested creature, which is a lot easier to answer than, let's say, a Siege Rhino. Also, because it exiles Siege Rhino, they can't whip it into play for extra value. I really like this card and I expected to see a bunch of play. Warden of the First Tree is a card that I've heard a bunch of praise at my local game store. He's a figure of destiny are the words I hear quite often. Well, he looks like one for sure, but he's got one big problem. You don't get the immediate effect out of him from his second ability, while Figure got to be a 4/4. The size of the body really matters here. In Khan's Standard, we have people making really good board states by turn 4. Abzan just dropped a Rhino, Sultai just dropped Sidisi, and Blue-White Heroic already has a gigantic guy at this time. It's important to develop the board in Abzan, and with how much mana this guy will suck up, he just comes up short. Standard has been quite diverse for a format with only 5 sets to work with. I feel out of all the spoiled cards, Monastery Mentor is going to make the biggest impact, and I feel pretty strongly about that. Monastery Mentor is going to be placed in Jeskai tokens and probably even Blue-White Heroic lists that have been running rampant. These lists don't have too many creatures to go wide with, and the synergy Monastery Mentor has with these lists are terrific. For these reasons, I would say that Monastery Mentor has a slot locked in Standard for sure. Modern is a format that I have grown to love, but it is so delicate when it comes to change. We have some pretty impactful cards in Fate Reforged as well. One that sticks out the most without question is Alacia, who smiles at death. Yep, I said it. Not Soulfire Grandmaster, not Monastery Mentor, it's Alacia. She has a very powerful ability that I think is just being overlooked. Let's take a look at the targets we have in Modern that are currently in Zoo and Creature Aggro archetypes. We have Wild Nacatl, Kirdape, Flinthoof Boar, Knight of the Reliquary, Qasali Pridemage, Goblin Guide, Monastery Swiftspear, Goblin Rabblemaster, and even Geist of St. Draft saw play in Craig Wesco's Dark Bant list that was played this past weekend. These are all powerhouse creatures that can come back out and dish out some damage. Alacia having First Strike also allows her to tussle with a bunch of these creatures. Being a creature in Modern hasn't been too easy for a while due to all the control decks hating out creatures. With Siege Rhino making pods so much better, creature decks have started popping up everywhere. In GP Omaha, there were several Zoo decks as well as Merfolk in top 32. With the new banning or unbanning next weekend, I can expect this card to enable a lot more creature decks in Modern. EDH has always had a place in my heart. For EDH, I really like Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Ugin is another colorless planeswalker anyone can play, and I really like how he can just instantly wipe the board clean, leaving the owner of Ugin in control. He's going to be a bunch of fun to play with because he just stops colored permanents from being around, which is a very unique concept. What decks will you guys put him in? Shu Yun, the Silent Tempest, is the newest addition to the Tiny Leaders lineup. He brings a very strong mechanic to the table for a general to have, and that's Prowess. Prowess on a general is awesome on its own, but we also have a triggered ability that really sends Shu Yun over the top. I have seen many foes fall into a false sense of security because they can't see too many moves where you just deal the life total and damage past their blockers. Well, in Jeskai we have sweet protection spells and spells that make our creatures unblockable. Shu Yun is going to be a sweet leader for the tiny format. For Limited, I've tried to analyze which card seems like a steal, and is always a win-win, and the best addition I could see for the Limited format is Lightform. Lightform is an enchantment for 1 and double white. When Lightform enters the battlefield, Lightform becomes an aura with Enchant Creature, manifest the top card of your library, and attach Lightform to it. It gives the enchanted creature flying and lifelink. It's very simple to cast, and if it's answered, the creature your opponent killed didn't come from your hand. It's not a traditional 2-for-1. If it isn't answered, it can become even a bigger threat. Most drafts I've done with Khans, I ended up with 13 to 15 creatures, and 4 to 6 of them were morphs with some turn face-up effect. So with those numbers, we have at least 35% of our deck being creatures. On top of that, you also get a flyer. Flyers are huge in Limited. They can often be hard to interact with and have proven to be an issue for most players. We haven't gotten to see Manifest in action, so we can't say that it's going to make this card better or worse, but you get a 2/2 flying lifelinker for 3, which is great value. Alright, so we covered quite a bit, and I'm very excited to do some pre-releases this weekend. Thank you so much for hanging out with me here at Gathering Magic.